if you are somebody who sees a lot of stuff online and has a hard time like organizing it, it's really helpful. For me, for example, I will see a lot of, like, I'll get a link to an article and I'll read it. And I'll think, man, that's pretty cool, but I don't care about it right this second. Diigo is great because I could tag it a certain way and say, like for these, I put digital reading. And as I was reading stuff, even if I was just reading from a big newsletter or something, if I saw an article that I thought might have applicability to digital reading, I just put it in Diigo, and then I can go to Diigo later and just say, here's all my links to things that have to do with digital reading. Or here's all my links that have to do with Kansas City Royals. You know what I mean? Like, I can organize my future reading much, much better than what I was doing before, quite frankly, was keeping emails where this email had a link about this, and I just start it. And it sucked because at some point I had about 50 stars, and I had to, every time I wanted to look at digital reading, I had to go through all my emails and say, oh yeah, that one was about this. Now, I don't get any kickbacks from Diigo, so I don't care if you don't use it. That's just my personal experience with it. And on that note, again, it's not really about Diigo, but what I do think kind of the message is that what technology has done to kids is pretty important. And when it comes to reading, one of the things it's done is it's given them this expectation that there should be choice. And what I'm going to suggest is that even though technology is partly, and I don't mean the word blame, but technology helped create that paradigm for them, one of the nice things is technology also provides some of the answers, because 10 years ago, actually even 5 years ago, I wanted kids to do a lot of reading in my classroom. And I got burned out on trying to, you can't put 5 copies of things for kids to say, here, choose which one of these to read. I'm not going to make 5 sets of copies for my class to choose from. But I can put them on here, lickety-split, and it doesn't burn me out personally. And frankly, it doesn't burn your kids out either, because my kids got tired of me handing them articles. I'm predicting this part because I've never done this in the classroom, but I'm predicting they would get less tired of going to Diigo and picking a few to read. So it's part of the creator, but it's part of the solution perhaps to how we do this. And just as far as one last thing about why this is important, it's also important because with our new curriculum, we have these standards that are very explicit about reading. And it'll say, you need to have kids compare multiple points of view. Well, now instead of having to find, again, 4 copies of multiple points of view about capitalism, I can just slap them on here. And it's much, much easier. And it's just from a pragmatic thing, I can do that now. And frankly, we kind of have to do that now. So it's a tool that hopefully can make doing that easier. Okay, so one last thing, unless anybody has any questions or comments or any kind of thing, I'm going to set you up for your exit ticket. And what I want you to do for that is at the top of this page, where it says filters, if you will go to topics, you'll only have one, and that is your exit ticket. So all you need to do, there's not anything to read. How the digital environment, if you click on that, under this topic, post a comment providing your thoughts on the following. How does the digital environment in which we all find ourselves change our approach to learning generally and reading specifically? Please summarize what you've learned about how students are different today with respect to both, and then summarize the implications those changes mean for you as their teacher. So I'm really not looking for a sentence or two here. This is a little bit more involved. That's why we left plenty of time for it. If you would give some thought to each of those things. Learning generally, how has it changed? What's that mean for you as a teacher? And then kind of the second half of that is, specifically when it comes to reading, how do kids read differently today? And what's that mean for you as a teacher? So you might have a few paragraphs, like small paragraphs here. All you're going to do is post your comment. If you'd like to read everybody else's, that's great. I'm not going to ask you to do a whole respond thing. But this really is meant to be your takeaway, so don't tell me what you think I want you to say. I mean, if you disagreed with something substantively about what I said, or if you want to raise other issues for us to consider, I will kind of say that where we're going in the future, and I'm really glad Dirk mentioned this idea of searching. One of the other reasons I chose to use Diigo today is that I think as we go forward, probably the next job alike, in fact, is really going to have to be about searching, both from a teacher's point of view and a student's point of view. If you're going to give kids choice in reading, you as the teacher have to be able to search out all these things for them to read. That was the biggest thorn in me preparing for today, for example, was finding all of these articles to give you to read. I even resorted to Twitter at Devin's suggestion at one point, and it didn't work, but that's a whole nother story. Like, it's hard to find good stuff to read. And so you as the teacher, that puts the onus on you. If I'm going to give not just one good article to my kids, but I'm going to give them a choice of 5, you have to know how to search, and it's not easy to do. I don't know how to do it. So I'm going to try to find out, and we're going to do some thinking about that. But the cool part of Diigo, and this is what Brian was kind of alluding to, is now you can reduce a little bit of that pressure by having kids do it. But what we know about kids, or what I'm starting to find out, and what we're going to do our job like about, is that kids are really terrible searchers. And so we're going to have to teach kids before we say, hey, go out and find 5 articles on World War II. We're going to have to teach them to get really good at doing that. And I think Diigo, once we get kids prepared to do that, Diigo is a way that they can give each other choices in reading.